What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? You know what time it is. Episode 66 in the mix, big baby. Before we get started, you know what time it is. If you got yourself an iPhone and or an Android, do yourself a favor and download the FTX app. Stay up to date with the latest cryptocurrencies and NFTs. Without further ado, I am your host, Gaddis TV. What's going on, y'all? And let's get to it. Alrighty, and we are live and direct, Sleeper. So first off, I want to say thank you for coming on, take some time out of your morning, and just showing some love and sharing a little bit about yourself. So thank you for that. Oh, you're muted on me. There we go. Now we're live and direct. Sorry, big dog. I'm over here talking to you and got my hotkey all messed up. I was saying we're live and direct with Sleeper. So first off, big dog, thank you for coming on. Take some time out of your morning and honestly just sharing a little bit about yourself. So thank you for that, man.
Thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate being here.
100%. Usually how we do start it off. I know you said you've seen a couple of them, and I know I would say a lot of people do know about your artwork. Some don't yet. Hopefully we can change some of that. But let us know a little bit about yourself on, I guess, what were you doing before, I guess, kind of cryptocurrency in general? How long have you been, I guess, doing the art that you're doing? When did all that start with the artist in you?
Yeah, man. Well, I've been doing it for quite a while. So I've been making digital art, making animation, doing 3D, doing film and production work. So mostly client work before pushing into the art scene kind of more recently in the past 3 or 4 months. But I've spent most of my life in academia, actually. So I went to school, then I went to uni and did a bachelor, then a master's, and then kind of started trying to do the freelance work for a bunch of design clients. And then kind of went off and studied a PhD for a couple of years. That's quite an interesting little tale.
Okay.
And then I was kind of teaching at unis and helping out, steering the kids in the right direction, teaching 3D animation and teaching digital art and software work. And now I'm kind of working full-time in kind of helping lead some of the courses at a uni and teaching as well. So it's kind of like being a blend between the academia, kind of like researching and exploring the kind of cutting edge of digital art, and then also trying to do the client work on the side. But in my spare time and late at night, I'd be kind of making trippy, weird shit. So that was more fun than working for someone else.
No, 100% on that.
And yeah, and I think like I got into the crypto scene really like maybe about like only 3 or 4 months ago. It wasn't very long. I was watching from the side, very, very interested, but kind of had a difficult time in finding my foot to get in. I don't know, there's such a big fear jump, particularly when you're not of an investment mindset, to just even get in at the start. So I had a really hard time getting in. And then I'd been posting all my cool work up on my site. And actually George, or earliest adopter from the Boogle Squad, kind of reached out and was like, hey man, that is some cool work. I don't know if you've ever considered coming over into Solana. I'd put my work up on Rarible on the ETH chain.
Yep.
And hadn't really had any traction, just kind of began just spent all my money on gas, and then decided that was a good investment. And anyways, he bought a piece. So he was like, hey man, I'd really love this if you want to come over onto the Sol network. And I was like, wow, I can't believe that's possible. And that's amazing. So that started it all off maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And I've just been grinding and trying to share work ever since.
Nice. With so I guess the creativeness has kind of always been there. I guess with the the stuff that you're doing, you said it's like the 3D rendering, things like that. I guess when did you know you wanted to do something like that? Was it maybe not like exactly like a 3D render in that one, but was it watching cartoons when you were, little kid and you're like, man, like that'd be sweet if I can make this thing. Because it sounds like you've been doing it for a minute. I mean, you're teaching some schools, or maybe not schools, but I guess classes, which you got to know your stuff there.
For sure.
When is that first memory when you're like, you know what, this would be cool just to do in general? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, man. There's a really distinct moment, and this is kind of maybe where the sleeper story gets a bit interesting. So, um,
Okay.
I was so growing up in Australia. There's not too much going on, so I was a bit of a rascal running around, a little bit of a naughty boy, and I'd kind of stumbled upon when I was 15, going into head shops and playing around with smoking weed and exploring the mind, and but I'd gone into this kind of head shop. We call them Happy High Herbs over in Australia, but
Happy High
um,
Herbs. Is that like
yeah,
the name? Is that y'all's go to?
yeah, that's the real
We're
name
gonna
of this
start
of
switching
the.
that up and say that in America now, bro. I
I
like
think
it.
it's a better name, right? It's a kind of the connotation of its emotional status as well, So, but anyways, they gave me this thing from behind the counter, and they said, "Oh, you might be interested in this," and it was Dreamtime, and I didn't even know what Dreamtime was, but later I put all these puzzle pieces together, and it was pure DMT. Um, so I was a 15-year-old kid, and I didn't really know what these things were, and I'd had this really really wild experience that just really truly just cracked open my kind of visual sense of aesthetics and my third eye in a sense. Saw all these really complex hallucinations, um, and these things that looked cartoony. They looked like beings. They looked like a 3D landscape. And I was just so fascinated by that experience that I thought, man, I just want to like draw those things. Like I just like, what the hell was that first? And then um, maybe I feel like I want to record them or like translate them or map them down. So honestly, man, I didn't really wasn't into art at all up to this one moment, and then that kind of really changed the trajectory for me in a significant way. And ever since I've continued exploring that space, and continued to have many experiences in Aussie Waska, kind of an ayahuasca variant, that's kind of brewed in Australia, with the cactus, with mushrooms, and with DMT, and it's become a really significant tool. And so much so that when I I found this gap in psychedelic research, as a really legitimate kind of uh, academic route. And my PhD was for, I
Mm,
didn't quite complete the PhD, but I spent 2 years on the role of artists and art in mapping out complex hallucinations by DMT. So right now, the scientists have a really difficult time in actually understanding what happens in some of those spaces, and they don't quite have the tools yet developed to be able to even begin recording what the imagery looks like. And I've noted or found that actually only artists are the ones who are capable of documenting some of those visual details. And previously, artists are seen as just kind of entertainment makers. They just make cool things to enjoy, and there's a whole range of benefits, but not quite a utility, I guess, is in the term of a crypto word.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, an argument was made like, hey, artists could have a really significant role in moving psychedelic research forward.
Nice. I would honestly, I ain't, I ain't got no PhD, nothing like that. But with that type of stuff, I mean, I would agree with you on that essence of it, because it's like you said, and I don't know how someone would create like a generated system to see like what you saw on it, or like what artists see when they see it like that. But on the flip side, as you were saying that, maybe not on the flip side, but just as you were saying that, yeah, I kind of got when you were saying on that when people might have looked at artists or someone taking the I guess what the shrooms and everything else you were taking, and just in general, and see like how the brain actually works, because like you said, it has to. I mean, I've never done honestly any half the stuff you told me about. I almost did mushrooms once, and then I went on YouTube for a long time, and I just watched all the horror stories. And some guy got really scared, was throwing up, thought he was throwing up blood, and then he had like a white just like streak in his hair. I was like, all right, well, fuck me, I ain't doing that. You know what I mean? But honestly, I think it is fascinating how, I guess, like scientists and stuff like that can see how the brain would work, how those things would actually just like generate, I guess, certain like neurons and stuff like that in the brain, because it has to do the different things on there. I know you said you didn't finish your PhD on that one. Did you come up with a thesis overall, or what?
Yeah,
what was your
it's
thesis?
it's a great point that you made actually about. I'll answer that in a sec, but you're right on it about how so many things can be revealed through those experiences that are kind of unable to be understood any other way. So one instance is, I know that a lot of people describe these kind of like cartoon, super flat, almost like LED light imagery, where it's hyper cartoony, almost like anime-esque. And most of my work is trying to be super flat as well. And there's an area of the brain in the visual cortex so the vision goes through multiple stages for it. The outside world looks like the outside world to you. And one of the early stages is where there's no shading, there's no gradients, there's only these flat colors. And so it's interesting that the hallucinations are kind of activating this early area of the brain. And many other research papers have kind of revealed why there might be a geometric tunnel that appears, and it may be due to these kind of hypercolumns in the visual cortex. But so the art helps illuminate parts of the brain and how the mind constructs the outside and inner world. So we can definitely, like exactly as you said, we can really figure out a bunch of things by analyzing, reverse engineering the art. Look, man, I didn't finish the PhD. One of the issues was that it got blocked, was because it was unscientific. That was the kind of tagline. It was like that there's no way to objectively prove that your accuracy is at a high enough level for publications in really top-notch journals. Now, there's a bunch of kind of arguments about that. I then went into like police face composite software. So,
and what is that for us?
So like,
I don't know what that is.
No, that's okay. I was driving down the city one day, and I saw a guy running with a girl's purse, and I stopped the car and I ran after him. Hey, give me back the purse. And I saw his face, but then he ran off, so I couldn't quite catch up. And then the police came and they said, what did he look like? And I went, oh, well, I don't know. And they pulled out this big book of noses. They pulled out this big book of lips and then eyes. And I was piecing it together, and I was like, man, this is a crazy old school way of like trying to transfer an image from my mind onto the screen. And so I was developing kind of a piece of software to help people recreate imagery from their memory to help in some other way. And that same process was the kind of crux of the hallucinations, but it was also used by police agencies. So
nice.
I kind of moved there, but then I got really bored in it and just stopped and walked away. So that was the end of the story.
Heard that.
Yeah.
With the name Sleeper,
yeah,
I guess how did that name come up? You I mean, I asked you before we went live. I asked if you were a morning person. You was like, yeah, pretty much. You know, you can't sleep late. So I'm assuming you don't like sleep a lot. Where was the name come from?
Yeah, it's not sleepy, like where I'm just sleepy all the time. It's like I think the cool idea of the visions is, you know, the dream world, like so that dream time space that where things are a little bit stranger or that there's imagery. Um, when so dreams, imaginations, hallucinations. Uh, and so when I close my eyes, it's not just a black screen. There are more worlds, there are more places to explore. And I think that's kind of the essence. And look, it's a pretty catchy name as well. So
It's
that's,
strong, bro. You're good on that
yeah.
one.
If you've got, 6 characters, it helps. Yeah.
Um, with I guess with the art to it. 'Cause, I guess you were doing the 3D kind of render stuff like that. And now I guess you're doing more of the flat kind of imagery. Um, I guess did you? I guess one how do you make the work? Is it like on like the Photoshop stuff like that, or did you first start before the crypto thing going on? I guess like sketching. What was it? The painting. I guess after you had that experience, what was that next thing? You were just drawing them, or what? What was your passion, your go to at that time? Like how to create it?
Yeah. I mean, I sketch little and badly, and then finesse and play forever within the software. So most of the exploration is done within the software itself, because just not quite an illustrator by trade. So I use like Photoshop, Illustrator, and then I'm sometimes model in 3D and then draw over the top again. Got Cintiqs and tablets that I can kind of trace over images that I'll put together. And then there's a lot of cutting up and shredding and flipping and almost like a DJ, like just mixing and scratching, and that's what I'm doing all night sleeping, So yeah, it's a play. It's like being messy, I guess, with paint, except I've got infinite canvas, infinite paints, and infinite areas to kind of play around with. So a piece like this is, what I'll do is I'll maybe make a quick sketch of like a tunnel of, kind of like Alice in Wonderland, cattails and snakes, and that's kind of something I've seen before. So I've had experiences where I go down these hypercolored tunnels and there's these kind of beings that jump around, but I can never quite see them properly. It's always like they look like something and then I can't see the thing anymore. It's very hard to, yeah, it's gone, man. Like, so then I'll make a quick sketch of that and remember it in my mind, and then I might 3D model it, and then I'll take it into another program and kind of draw back over it and then cut things up. And so I'm pretty fluid between the software, which helps a lot.
When you do that creative process, I'm assuming I know the answer on this one, but I guess is that more and more, I guess, relaxing overall, you know what I mean? Or like with the creative process, sometimes is it I don't know, like not stressful or anything like that, but like you said, like if you're cutting these images out, pasting them, things like that, I guess with your creative process, one, are you feeling good and just like, woo, let's go? Or like, do you see the visions and then make them that way, like you were saying? Or overall, because I know different pieces have to be a different way, what would you say your creative process is?
That's a great question, man. Totally right on it. Like, and it's actually, it flips between being really relaxing and also quite stressful, where you're really trying hard, I guess, to do something and capture something. And sometimes the juices just aren't flowing. Like, it's just everything's a really uphill grind. It feels like nothing's quite working. It feels repetitive. It feels boring. It feels old, static. And then suddenly you get a glimpse of something, and it's so inspiring again. It's like, oh, good God, I'm stumbling across like the rabbit hole I was looking for, and okay, then now I'm really back in it again. So I think it would be remiss to say it's just inspiring or relaxing or just stressful. It kind of goes up and down in waves, which and I think just keeping neutral and calm and collected, that like trusting the process. So I try not to make work just when I'm inspired. I try and make it consistently and grind and show up, and I throw out a lot of work as well. So I might spend days on a piece, and then it's just not right, and that's okay. Like that's cool, because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have learned what not to do, or I wouldn't have been able to have better perspective on the next piece. So just keep
As
showing
an
up, just keep grinding.
artist, say you're doing that. Say you're working on something for a day, 2 days. Um, what does that feel like? You said like if you're a good artist, learning artist, I would say, because again I say I'm artistic. I give myself that, but I'm not an artist. All right. But like, what does that feel? Because I'm thinking like with these two things in the back, my background. I did these back in high school, so it was like I don't know, probably like within the week because you only have a certain amount of days in the classes. But I think I messed up maybe like one, which I was like, man, damn, bro, all my time's wasted. Like, what is that like the feeling? How I mean, it was to speak on you guys. Like, I can't speak on other artists, but like, what is that type of feeling when like you just said it, you throw it away because you're learning something, but like, is that a feeling you have to not cope with, but as an artist, like learn how to deal with, or realistically, is it like because it's your work and you see it, you're like, I actually don't like it. Is it easy to throw it away? Because
It's another awesome question, man. Like that gets right to the heart. It's really hard, but like I think, unfortunately the artist is the quality controller as well. And the temptation is to be like, well, hey, I spent days on this. Like, you guys have to like it. But there's no rules in the art world. It's kind of like the steroid Olympics, it's just whatever anyone likes is what they like. And it doesn't matter if it took 30 seconds or 300 days. It's just the work is the work. And I think that's a really fair way to put it. But it does hurt, but it's part of the process if you want to keep looking for something that's maybe more special than just repeatable. Because this is the cool thing about arts and creativity in general, right? Like you are venturing into the unknown. So if I knew what I was going to get, it would be boring. Or if I knew all the art out there, it would be boring. I want to be surprised. I want to be delighted. And so there's an inbuilt kind of risk of failure in every work.
Nice. No, it makes sense honestly as well with it like that. Question, because I know you said it beforehand, where I guess it took you a while, and I forgot exactly what you're saying. I don't know if you meant like took you a while to come on Soul, or just in general to even get your artwork on the rarities, because I know ETH and everything like that, but listen, ETH is for y'all people that got money. You down to spend, the 15 grand on gas and everything else. Listen, I'm chilling. You know what I mean? So like I know I think it's the rarity tools. I'm probably even saying that wrong, but I know the one you were speaking of. All
Rareable,
artists and everything are if you're on that, you got skills, like you know what the hell is what's up. You know what I mean? I guess is what made you take that jump to put your work on, I guess on the blockchain.
Yeah.
Was it just something like that? And then second question on that, were you selling art, I guess, beforehand, like with canvases, things like that? Because I know you said you're doing the movies and I guess things in that nature. But was it a similar jump? And what made you take that leap?
Man, right on it. That's a great question. Like I so they are related. That's those two questions are kind of related. Like I was selling work very, very sparsely in some galleries. So a few galleries had picked me up, and then I'd been printing, in maybe 2012, like a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago, I was printing one of one digital artworks, and I was trying to like say, hey, this is a one of one, but the reality was no one really kind of, they would just still buy it as a print, not really thinking it was the original digital work. And these were in galleries with mostly oil paintings. So there was an inbuilt kind of problem with it being a digital piece. So it was in a few galleries jumping around. That happened for maybe 3 or 4 years. Sold a few works, sold a few prints online. Never really had social media, just always had my website kind of up and running. And then, I was like, well, just seeing the craze of it all happening, of so much NFT work booming, that I just thought, man, I've got to rebrand myself into being a crypto artist, so that I did all that on my own, minted like 5 or 6 works, put it on Rarible, rebranded the whole site, and got a few little traction on there, no sales. And then George reached out and said, hey man, if you want, would love to buy one. And I would recommend that you burn all your ones on ETH. And I was like, yeah, no worries. And then I realized, oh, hang on, that's the same as like gas fees to burn. So I minted and then burned, and just wasted probably $500 in just like uploading, the work. So, but that's okay. But yeah, in the galleries, jumping around a few galleries in Australia, and then selling a few works, and then just pivoted. It was an inspirational point, seeing so much cool work out there.
Decided to take the leap. Did you know, I guess, George before that, or I think you said as well, I guess he saw your work from there, and he reached out to you, and I guess he brought you all on over to Solana. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, no, I had never met George. So it was, yeah, it was sweet. I didn't really.
Sorry to get a little oomph in there. No, that
absolutely. Yeah,
that's cool. I'll be real with you. I tell the secret. That's why I found you. I don't talk to him. I've never talked to him before. I'm going on Twitter because I do everything myself with the podcast, basically. So I want to have people that I haven't really, I guess, seen and all, because I'm sure there's people that everyone's seen and they're great at, but I'm sure there's that one person, or maybe not one person, but that person that has, granted, have more followers, but like a 20 follower account and stuff like that. I just wanted to have people in general, which are good in, honestly, what was it? I think I read one of his tweets where it was just like, honestly, under, or I guess overlooked, or was you, and I looked at the work, and honestly, I liked it. I was like, that's fresh, you know what I mean? So shout out to him for getting you over to Solana. Shout out for him randomly tweeting and me getting you on. So hell yeah, you know what I mean?
that's the whole ecosystem, right? Is like just, off a whisper or a tweet, like just, amazing doors, or a DM or a message that he'd sent. The whole thing can change. I think it's just the coolest, like flat kind of hierarchy. And there's endless rabbit warrens in Twitter as well. Like you just, you might think, oh yeah, I've got a good perspective on it. But the reality is you've got such a slither of a viewpoint just by nature of not being able to see or cover so many tracks that are out there. And man, I tell you, there's just the coolest work by so many artists who have got small numbers as well. Like it really is like an inspiring and innovative and kind of, and there's really healthy competition. Like it's all positive vibes, but people are trying to do the coolest work they can do. And it's a really awesome space for artists to be in. So yeah, anyone who's grinding like on small numbers, it's just potentially just a tweet away that so many eyeballs can be put onto your work.
No, 100% with that one. Another kind of question, I guess, with the selling art and the I guess real world, and then the crypto, because I've talked to some other artists, you know what I mean, and they said kind of like you said, their work would be out. People see it, appreciate it, maybe don't see it as much, or um, other ways. Like I know, I guess maybe I'm wrong on this one as well, but there's not too many jobs for like artists, stuff like that, other than teaching. And I know some, honestly, in the States, sometimes it's not the best salaries and stuff like that, where you're really helping the creative mind, with kids and everything else like that. I'm trying to remember if you already said it. What was your first sale on one of your NFTs? Was that on ETH first, or was that on Solana? Was it George was the first one ever that bought it, or you had it on the
Yeah, no, George was the first NFT. So he bought a Midnight Guess, which is this one. I think if you keep scrolling down all the way, a few more sections, even down a bit more. But he bought it for 5 SOL.
How long have
this one
all
on the top left?
Midnight Guess.
Man. Yeah, that's the one.
Right click save. Just joking.
Hey, you can't do that, man.
That's timeout. False. Hold on. How long have all of these? And I do want to hear how you made this one really quick as well. But how? Honestly, I just started scrolling like you're saying. How long were all these collections made? Was it like the last 3 minutes? The last 4 years? When are these collections from?
So I've got 2 collections. Maestro and Discern, which is currently kind of coming out. And Maestro were all done about 10 years ago. Nice. The top one. And this Discern have been just in the past 3 or 4 months. So these ones are all fresh, which is nice. They still feel really connected, both of them. But I picked out the best kind of 20 of my 10-year suite of work. I have had hundreds, but kind of burnt the rest of them. So the only 20 in that top kind of Maestro. And then this section here is, just the ones that I've been making more recently. And each piece may take, a couple of days to do. So I've been working every night, man, on art, and really, really trying to have a nice, strong variety. So it's like a snapshot, like someone's on holidays in La La Land, and just taking photos and Polaroids of a strange place. But Midnight Guest, man, it's a beautiful work. He actually picked one of my favorites out of the suite I'd put up, and basically I think I'd composited like tables and chairs and like a background of like curtains opening up. I'd cut those out in Photoshop, and then if you click on it, you should see it full screen.
Maybe something.
No, that's okay. Cool. That's no worries. And basically, then I've redrawn over all of these collected photographs and just started. So it had that super flat illustrative style. And then I've cut out a bunch of shapes and started copying and pasting and remixing and twisting them and curling them around and then drew the little characters in. So that was the blend between kind of photographic to get the realism of spatial dimensions correct, just because I can't draw it straight out of my head. And then I redraw over everything with a better kind of guideline underneath.
Nice. When did you make this one? Was it like
about 10 years ago, I reckon?
That's fucking cool. Now, when you sold that shit, okay, well, not shit, my bad. Listen, don't be like, yo, what the hell you mean, bro? Listen, when you sold that, because one, what type of feeling was that just on selling it? You know what I mean? And then two, what is that second feeling? How you just like, you made something from 10 years ago and it sells and it looks fucking sweet, bro. I'll give you that as well.
Thanks,
what are those two feelings as just an artist and then just as a person in general? You know what I mean? Because
man, I can't even describe. Like, it was so incredible. I mean, it brought me to tears, like, because it was like someone had really seen the work, had kind of validated it. I didn't even know who George was. It was just like a buy on Soul. It was just a collector, like, and I was like, oh yeah, oh my god, I can't believe you want to buy it. And yeah, man, it just meant everything to me because I had curated and put my work up for years and years and years, and there was just no traction. No one cared. It was just talking into space on my own. And for someone to really think that it was worthy of that, and even to say, "Hey, man, you might even have a future in that. Like, you could keep going." It's like, oh my god, here. I just needed a chance, man. Like, give me an inch, and I'll run a mile. So, yeah, I owe everything to like someone where there's no other kind of context of success, and yet you've believed in someone or anyone else. So, like, you can't fake that. So, yeah, personally, then it was so inspiring to make more work. And I'd stopped making art. I was just doing it for clients, like making it for brands and selling my artistic and creative tricks for them. But it was always kind of boring, like, because they're trying to sell an orange juice or some plants at a gardening thing, like, just crap. Like, it's not crap. I mean, it's just that's where your bread and butter is as a designer, not an artist. So I was just like, oh, art's gone. That's not possible for digital artists. I'll just be a designer and work for other guys. And then this was like, no, you can do your thing, and your vision, your ideas are really cool. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. So it was a life-changing moment for sure.
Nice, man. That was one of the questions you kind of answered it just on that one as well, where maybe not for everyone, but as a creative person, I guess kind of like how you were saying, like building stuff for other people, brands, like you got to be one cool because you're getting paid for it as well. You know what I mean? But like you said, it has to, maybe not has to, but do you think for the majority of artists, it kind of drains them overall? You know what I mean? To an extent, because like you said, you got all the creative juices, but you're doing it for, Gaddis, or who wants, a picture of a candle with a light. You're like, bro, you could do that in 4 seconds, but you know what I mean? Like, how do people, I guess, not adjust to it, but how did you deal with it? You know what I mean? Or
yeah, it's a great question, man. Like, it's looking, I can only speak from my perspective. So some people love designing for clients, and I think that it's a completely valid creative path. I mean, it's where all the money is. So, and there's a gradation. So if someone said, oh, can you put this text with this photograph, it would be pretty boring to do, not very creative. But then all the way up the chain, as you get to more highly creative studios, they end up pushing the boundaries on creativity even more and more. And, like alcohol brands will want some crazy, like 3D, insane commercial. And so they're very creative. They're almost artistic, I'd say. But that's the high end. So the majority of creatives are kind of just working in that middle ground, making stuff that's needed for marketing and branding and just marketing, really. And I think it is draining. There's a lot of compromise. There's a lots of limiting factors on. There's someone who is the quality controller. There is someone who's the artistic lead. They will have the final say. Whatever the client wants is kind of the end product. And yeah, I just was bored, really, really boring in the end, in anticipating what type of work would be needed and wanted. So I think draining's a good word for it. How I felt anyway.
With it. And I was just looking at the time. I already got you past the 30-minute mark, so I'll ask the last couple questions.
Sounds good, bro.
Don't want to be lying to you and keep you hostage over here. With some of the work that you are doing as of right now, are you working on anything, I guess, particularly you can say now, or do you have artwork that's on? I think you're on what the Holoplex. I guess where can people find your art in general, and then
Mhm.
are you working on anything right now?
Yeah, so on my Twitter, I've got the Holoplex for the primary auctions where they're first released, and then secondary all are listed on Exchange. Shout out to Exchange, and so that's where all the sales will happen. That's where they can find any work. There's a few up for now on secondary, but not too many. And I'm just working on finishing this collection up. So there's 4 more pieces to come out. That'll come out over the next couple of weeks. Maybe do 2 a week for the next couple of weeks. Maybe there's a break in there. And then we've got a few other kind of, I don't know. I'm working on something else, but we'll have to just play it cool for a little bit until that comes out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got me interested a little bit. Okay.
I'll DM you, bro. I'll let you know.
Let me know. If not, shoot, just be like, hey man, coming on the podcast. I'm like, what the hell you talking? Oh, okay, cool, bro. Come on, son. It's honestly, it's another question in general. I don't want to keep on asking questions, but I'm actually thoroughly enjoying the conversation we're having on here. What do you have certain pieces that you personally like yourself more than others, or I guess how do you know when a piece is done? You know what I mean?
Oh God, that's like almost $1 million question. It's really, really hard, man. And sometimes I look back and I think, oh, maybe because I get really inspired at night. I'll be working till 3 a.m. just trying grind hard, trying to make it. And then I'll think, oh my God, I jagged it. I really got something interesting. And then I'll wake up in the morning and it will feel dead or lifeless. And it's gutting. It's like, oh my God, it's not there. And then maybe throughout the day, I have some lunch. I look back at it. I stand on my chair and I look at it again. And I think, oh, actually, there is something cool there. So it's like it like a wave. It kind of comes and goes. The perception of quality or perception of interest or uniqueness. And at some level, you've just got to kind of just really, really trust your gut and be like, I'm going to stop right there because that's really interesting. And I've overworked many, many pieces to try to make it even cooler. And sometimes it's probably trying to time the top in crypto, right? Like you can maybe try for the absolute top, but you'll probably miss it. So maybe you try to just take some profit at a really good spot and let's leave it there. That's stable, that's solid, that's really interesting. I'm going to leave it there. And maybe I could have made it better, but that's okay. Leaving it there as a safe and solid spot. I think when I look at my work, a lot of it's about the experience of looking at it. So I know shout out to Shake, who's been a really strong supporter. There's a Flying Witches of Velacruz, number 4 on this screen here. And I know that's one of my, it's definitely a favorite piece of mine. And it's so interesting because my eye is never bored when it's looking at it. So it moves around, it finds a little thing in the corner, and then it oh, hang on, there's a little bit over here, and then it just never settles. And so actually the way my eye moves around the piece is really important as well. It's meant to be endlessly interesting and hinting at things or waves or forms or streamers or plant matter or black figures flying through the dark, and just all these hints of stuff. But it's I'm a big believer, if I drew a bicycle, it sometimes ends up for me so literal that when I look back at it again, I just assume to see what I already saw the first time. So trying to get that magical essence is a trick that I'm trying for. I'm not sure if that made sense though. It's a bit abstract.
No, I mean it did to me. Someone maybe tomorrow, the next day watching it might be like, "What the hell is this guy talking about?" But no, I think it makes sense, and I think that's the beauty of honestly art, because you said, the perception can mean one thing to you, and it can mean one thing to me, and I mean a different thing to a different person. That is the beauty of it, because it could be something I look at and it could be like, man, I love this one. And you can be like, bro, that is the one I hate the most. And it's like, that's cool, you hate it, bro, but you're not me, you know? So that is the beauty of just art in general. It doesn't matter if it's yours, your type of work, or anything. I mean, of course, that's what I guess people understand and love, but it is cool to at least just being a host talking on this one, talking to different artists and seeing different artists and ways that they do it. It's just it's appreciative. And that's even a word on that one, but like I appreciate like just the work, the mindsets, and how y'all do it. And like you said, just stepping forward and what, just saying, hey, I'm gonna put my work on here, or I'm gonna listen to this random person on Twitter or however George found you, and waste $500, and burn everything and try on soul, and then not gonna say it's gonna work for everyone, but then that light bulb, that oh heck yeah moment, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
For artists that are listening, what type of advice would you give them, and then what advice would you give yourself back when you first started knowing everything?
Wow. Well, man, I just so love hearing these questions. It's really insightful, like, and reflective. Like, I feel really strange being in a position to kind of tell other artists like what to do. But I think this is what I would tell myself is the same thing I would tell other artists. But it would be, really sit still and do the work you really, really love. And the temptation is to try to anticipate or predict or try to make it for the client, which is the person who's going to buy it, and it just it becomes you'll never get there. You'll never be able to figure it out, just as you said, because it will be different for everyone. So it's a completely open slate. But what I'm most interested in seeing in other artists is that person's perspective on life. Like I get to jump into your shoes. I get to sit on your shoulders and see how you see the world. And the more you be you, the better the work becomes. And, you are good enough. Like you are valid and you are really special and beautiful. And it's not kind of like just dribble talk. Like it really does. That is the reality of life, is that everyone is really beautiful in their own unique way. And the more they just be themselves is actually what I'm looking for. So it's not about the biggest voice in the room. It's just the one who's kind of really vibing as themselves and loving that.
No, I like it. I always have a saying. It's not a painting saying, but it's real recognize real. It doesn't matter if it's
For sure.
painting to fashion to whatever. You know what I mean? Just real recognize real. Unless someone's really good at being fake, then you're like, damn, you're good, son. Woo! But
That's right.
we ain't talking about those people, okay?
Yeah.
Last, I guess I'll just take a last question on that one. Were there anything on kind of our quick-ish conversation that we haven't really, I guess, touched on that you're either one passionate about, want to let people know about, or just something we haven't talked about?
As closing thoughts, I think. Look, man, I
gotta stop you really quick because
no worries.
That is, I need to start saying that now. Do you have any closing thoughts? Because I always say the same way like that. I'm like, oh damn, bro, you smart, dog. Shoot, yeah. You got any closing thoughts?
Nah, man. Look, I'm so appreciative of the soul ecosystem. I'm a shy guy in general, so I've been trying to like reach out more to meet people. People are welcome to reach out and just have a chat. And I'm really, really passionate about the work. I'm really trying to do something unique and different in the space, as we all are. But yeah, all the support has been. I'm so appreciative of everyone.
Awesome, man. Well, on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and basically end the stream on this one, kind of like how I started. I'm gonna go ahead and mute it for a quick couple seconds, but for real, man, thank you for coming out and taking some time out of your just about to be afternoon now, because I took you longer than 30 minutes. But real talk, man, I appreciate it, bro.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it so much.
Yes, sir. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you know what time it is. Put your hands together. If you're not already, go ahead and follow a Sleeper R NFT on Twitter. And you already should be hitting that follow on ThugBirdz, ThugDAO, ThugPod. And hit that follow on Twitch, ThugBirdz, as well as ThugBirdz Podcast on that YouTube. Till next time, y'all, stay fresh, stay clean, stay positive. And as always, y'all, caw-caw.